All right, so this is your final project. Notice it's worth 200 points. I added, it was originally 150, but I decided to have you do a Balsamic mock-up, and so I just reapportioned the points a little bit differently. So, as it says, using what you've learned this semester, all right, couple things. First, all pages must render correctly. I don't want there to be any pages that come up that are blank. Does that make sense to everyone? It's your portfolio. All right. You must create an associated Balsamic mockup. That's 30 points. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to create one. But my hope is, and you can use that as a template, but my hope is whatever we end up creating for the rest of the week isn't going to be yours. That all you do is change the colors and the fonts. This should be an extension of you. What I'm going to create is going to be very generic. I'm not going to put much CSS in it or anything else. Okay? And I'm going to grab a lot of stuff from getbootstrap.com. But tomorrow, at a minimum, I will create the mock-up. The reason I'm not doing it today is I haven't done it yet. All right? But I'll try to do it tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever. So you must create an associated Balsamic mockup. You've all done this. Everybody in this room has created at least one of these mockups. You'll notice that's worth 30 points. So do the math. All right, that's 15% of your grade. For some reason you don't do that, boom, you're down to an 85. All right. Also, you must publish your portfolio. It must be uploaded to the Rankin web server. Now, if you decide you also want to put it onto Github Pages, and if you remember, we did that. We did an exercise with Github Pages. Totally fine. You don't have to do that, but you do have to put it out on Rankin's server. All right? Just so you know, my real strong recommendation is, what I want you to do is I want you to put it into a folder, and I want that folder to be named Portfolio. Okay? Why? Because that way, if I want to go out, I want to go to iwt.rankin.edu/a-shelton/portfolio, boom, I get Angie's portfolio. I mean, I used to not tell people to do that, and they'd give stuff god-awful names and save it in god-awful places. Then I have to go through and I'd have to log in as them and look for their stuff. I don't want to do that. You want to make it as easy as possible. That let's pretend it's this summer, and Gabriel here hears that there is some kind of an internship, and he'd like those people to be able, he'd like to send a link to his portfolio. Well, it should be as easy for them to go through as possible. All right. So, at a minimum, your site you can make it either one page or you can make it multiple pages. The one I'm going to do with you, it's going to be multiple pages. If you decide you want to make it one page, that's totally fine. Now, I started late with Keegan this semester, but my hope is when we do this in fall, because all of you, ideally, I hope the plan is for all of you to be in fall, to be in the class where we do Node.js, and you're going to use something called React that's going to make writing your HTML and stuff, it'll do some of that work for you. And my hope is that when we do that in fall, your portfolio will be done using React. All right? We're not worried about that right now. You maybe have never even heard that word in this context before, and that's totally fine. All right. So, it'll be evaluated on the following criteria. If we go through this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to build this for you, then I'm going to show you how you could do it using Mobirise. And if you decide you want to use Mobirise, it's okay. But I will tell you, you've got, let's pretend that right now you've got all your homework turned in. All right? That means that you will have a couple hours today, probably 3 hours tomorrow, probably 3 hours on Wednesday, probably or Thursday, probably 3 hours on Friday, and 16 hours next week. I expect this to be pretty frickin' good. All right, I don't want you to grab it. Oh, I just grabbed this Bootstrap theme that I found out online that was cool. I didn't change anything except I put my name in there. That'll be reflected then in your grade. That's not a threat. I'm letting you know now. You can see that in here. Each page should be similar in style and be aesthetically pleasing. I've got a student who graduated last year and his favorite color is red. And he had red all over the place, and I kept telling him, Chris, you know, you shouldn't make it red. Jeff, I like red. It's his portfolio. All right? But I don't think that helped him get a job. I'm just saying, you know, again, you may or may not agree with that. It should contain content meaningful to potential employers. You know, for instance, you know, they don't care, like this random number thing. You know, why would you put something like that in there unless you wanted to show that? But if you do that, you know, and like I said, I grabbed this from one of Brad Traversy's videos and took it almost verbatim. Right? One thing you should never do is don't ever take something that wasn't yours and claim it's yours. Now, we did that WeSom thing, if you remember that from a long time ago, with that we sell only mansion real estate. And you can say, well, but we did that as a class. If you want to use that, great. And if you don't, that's also great. All right? There should be no broken links. I don't want to click anything and have it not go anyplace or come up with a 404 error. So so you should test the hell out of it on your own machine, and then you should go and upload it using FileZilla. You know how to do that now. And then you should test the hell out of it on the Rankin server and make sure that it works. I will tell you that typically what happens is I make these links available to Mr. Gudmested and Mr. Smith because they give me theirs as well. And we look and see what the different classes have done. All right. Include a professional image of yourself. What does that mean? I'm saying this. This is no joke. Don't laugh. It's not meant to be funny. Shouldn't be a picture of you with a mask on. All right. If that means you take a picture of yourself at home or whatever, it should be a professional looking picture. Remember, if you take a picture with your phone, that if you know, this is supposed to be responsive, that if you make it real small, it could end up, or real big, it could end up looking grainy if you use your phone. I'm not saying it will, but just be leery of that. You might have to take a couple pictures and pick the one you think looks best. All right. It should have a working contact form that actually sends out an email. Okay? Now, you've got your choice. I'm going to recommend, because we're going to talk about this in a minute, if the only email that you have right now is gwilliams@insiderankin.org or something like that, whatever it is, I recommend you get another one. All right? And I would recommend that you get one through like Gmail. All right? Now, A. Shelton might already be taken. So they might say to her, she can have A. Shelton1268, you know, at gmail.com. There's nothing wrong with that. But it shouldn't be, you know, I think I've told you this before. I still will always remember John Norland, a friend of mine, telling me this. He taught general education courses at Blackhawk when I was there. And he said that he got an email from Hot Blondie, like 1998, you know, at gmail.com. And of course, his wife, he just left it there, and his wife wanted to know because she came in and saw it on his screen. So it should be a professional email. All right? And I don't care if you like basketball. It shouldn't be buckets. It shouldn't be something like that. It should be something that you could use when you get out of here. I don't care about you putting the Rankin one in, but again, I've seen this happen already. People do that, and then they leave here, and they leave their portfolio up, and they don't change it. Your Rankin email stays with you. I mean, you can use it up till I think it's like 8 or 9 months after you graduate. But then it goes away. Now this, on iwt.rankin.edu, it stays there forever. If you don't want it anymore, you've got the login for it. You can remove it. So if it's May of 2022 for you guys, if it's May, or for you if it's December of 2021, you don't want it anymore, just take it off. That's totally fine. All right, that's totally up to you. And notice that portfolio being built with this, all right, and having those pages in there. What pages? A home page, an about page. You don't have to have a resume page. For instance, on your about page, you might want to link to your resume that you save in PDF. That's okay. All right, and it can be a PDF. I'd rather have it be a PDF and a Word, but at a minimum, it should be a PDF. All right? You should have a portfolio, and that should have copies of the work that you've done in there. You'll probably want to take a screenshot. So you'd want to do something like this. Again, this is no surprise to any of you. That, you might take this. I'm not saying use this one. I probably wouldn't use this one. All right, but you can just take a picture of that. If you don't know this, because I do this stuff all the time, hit print screen, come in here into Microsoft Paint, which is you should all have on your machines, I would think. Come in here, there it is. That's too big, so I just come in here with a select tool. I highlight the whole thing. Control C to copy, file new, don't save, paste. Now I've got something I could use. Does that make sense? Now you may have to scale that or do whatever on that. And you don't want to do it that way. If you've got something, if you know Photoshop and you have that or something, then use that. But I'm just telling you, it's just down and dirty little way of doing it that works just fine. All right. The coursework will include examples and GitHub/GitHub Pages. So you should have a link to the GitHub repository that you have for that. Well, what if I want to put something out there that doesn't have a GitHub repository? Then make one. All right? Why? Because this is your chance to sell yourself, and other people are going to look at this and they're going to see how you code. All right? So, from the HTML part of the class, it should have some of the CSS work that we did. You had CSS assignments. You had Bootstrap assignments. You should have your midterm project out there. Now, for some of you who are still struggling, you have now, again, about 8 more periods to try to fix that site up. So if all you had was the shell and you didn't have any content, put some darn content in it. All right? Plus, you should have, as it says, code and live examples from 3 or more of the JavaScript labs, including at least one with jQuery in it. Now, Angie, for you, I didn't print it out. I can, but it just said to put in, like, I broke this up, and so instead of these all being 25, yours would all be 20, and then there'd be a thing down there to put in stuff to your C# projects. So if you want, I can print that out. Okay. Are there any questions on what I'm looking for? Now, I'm just going to show you a couple examples, all right? And maybe I've even done this before. I don't know. But we've got a woman, she worked for a couple years for Budweiser. No, not as a taste tester or anything like that, but she was a developer for them. And then she went off and she's doing development work for another company now in St. Louis. I don't remember what it's called. But if I go out to, I think hers is still out here, iwt.rankin.edu/ and her name is Valerie Sandbrink. Rankin edu v Sandbrink, try portfolio. Yeah. Now there's Valerie's. All right. And if you look about, I know it works because I've done it. I haven't looked at hers probably in a year or more, but they all have links and they all work. Okay. Now notice how she used color. Oh, there it comes. Okay. Now, should you use pictures of, I don't know, she did. The funny thing is she got hired at a job, and from what I heard, and this could be wrong, but I heard this from more than one person, she may be the first person that ever got hired at Anheuser-Busch that didn't have a 4-year degree. She had a 2-year degree. But she went in there and sold herself. Now, to me, she was one of the most non-IT people I've ever seen. She was very bubbly and effervescent. And most people who get into the field, I'm an example, are not just overflowing with personality. All right, but she was. All right, so there's her about, and there's some stuff on her, etc. And you'll notice down here, she's got links too, and she's got a link down here to Gmail, a link down here to LinkedIn. You should put stuff like that in there. At a minimum, you should have LinkedIn. If you're going to put a link to your Facebook page, you shouldn't have anything out on that page that you're afraid of anybody seeing. People say to me when they look at my Facebook, they go, "You hardly ever put anything out there." Yeah, there's a reason for that. Now, Mr. Corrigan, he's got a Facebook page. He uses it 100% so that people who have graduated can keep in touch with him. In fact, I found this funny because I got a weird sense of humor. But I think it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, his sister knew about his Facebook page, and it was his birthday, and she put happy birthday on there. He blocked her because he said it was a professional site. All right. But all I'm saying is there have been cases, you can read about these, where people have been denied employment because anything that you put out on Facebook, even if you remove it, typically people can still get to it. All right. And I maybe have told you about this. I've got a niece, and she's a great kid. From what I understand from her students, she teaches in the Milwaukee public school system. I think the 8th graders. They love her. But she puts stuff out there where she uses salty language. I wouldn't do that. All right. But again, that's your call. I mean, I know people who have 2 different Facebook accounts. One for their friends and one that's, basically they let other people see. So, all right. So let's see if I can find one more here. I don't know if Brady's is still out here or not. Now this is Brady. Probably out of everybody who's gone through the program, he's probably the biggest success story. He had almost a dozen job offers before he graduated. He's in Kansas City right now because he met a woman from there, and she said, if you want to marry me, you move to Kansas City, or we're breaking up. So he moved to Kansas City. I think they're married, but I don't even know. The funny thing is, the reason I like showing this one is, when you look here on work examples, well, let me first just show you this quickly. So, about me. So these are the things that he's worked on. All right, there's a thing to his resume. And you can see he's got it up there as a PDF. All right. But this is what I want to show you because I find this funny. Again, that's me. Here's his contact page. These don't have to be that great of a contact page. All right. But look on his work examples. All right. The thing I don't like about Brady is he's a Cubs fan. Sorry. But this was his first portfolio site. So you can see over 2 years, it got a little bit nicer. All right. And that's why I expect yours to be professional. This is professional. Yours. My hope is that yours that you do a year from May is going to be a hell of a lot better than what you have now. All right. Any questions on this? So tomorrow I will go over and I will mock up something. All right. And then based on what I mock up, then starting on Thursday, I'll go through some of the pages. I might not do everything, but I'll at least do the contact form, a home page, etc. All right. Any questions? All right. The rest of the period is yours.